Auburn fans, let's have a chat. Let's talk for a minute. I know you're going to come in the comment section. Why is this Bama grad talking about our program? Guys, I am on your side for this one. Your season's not over. A 21-14 loss to Cal is not great for the resume, but it's not the end of the world. And let's just call a spade a spade. This was not a year that you probably were going to the college football playoff. But your season is far from done. It's week 3, damn it. And you play New Mexico. But at the end of the day, you and I both know that Payton Thorne is not the answer. So let's go ahead and discuss what's going on, SEC Unfiltered. It's Cole Thompson here. Make sure that you like the video, hit the ring notification down below. And of course, hit subscribe. This is your #1 source for all things SEC. Download the podcast version of the show wherever you get your podcast listening systems. Follow us on the social channels, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SEC Unfiltered. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Cole Thompson. And to check out all of our great work, make sure that you visit secunfiltered.com. This episode is brought to you by RHOBACK. Use the promo code SECU for 20% off on your first purchase. Polos, joggers, hoodies, shorts, much, much more. Look good, feel good this upcoming fall on game days at RHOBACK.com. So Payton Thorne does not deserve the criticism that he is getting from the fans. The Venmo thing is atrocious. You are better than that. You're a better fan base than that. And also, I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. If you were betting on Payton Thorne to cover a 12.5 point spread, that's on you. That is all on you. That is not on him. Because at the end of the day, we know who he is. This is a quarterback that can play against inferior competition, get one monumental game per season, and probably be the reason that you lose the rest. Your season's not done. The thing is that a lot of people are going to say, well, why didn't Hugh Freeze go out of the transfer portal and bring in another name? And I understand that frustration. You look at the rest of the roster and how you benefited from bringing in young players like Perry Thompson, Malcolm Simmons, Cam Coleman. You also still have a very good tight end, Rivaldo Fairweather. You went out the transfer portal, built up your offensive line. You got in some new defensive players. And you're saying, but we were a quarterback away from being a great team. And therein is the first lie. You were not a quarterback away. You were not. Payton Thorne is a problem. We can all agree with that one. Payton Thorne is a guy that is going to do the best he can, and it's not going to be good enough. But you have questions on your defensive line. You have questions when it comes to your offensive line. You have questions when it comes to your run blocking. You have questions when it comes to the development of your young wide receivers. You have questions when it comes to your secondary. This is a team that is not going to the postseason. This is a team that may be going to anywhere else but the Birmingham Bowl. That's what we're talking about with this team. If we are being completely honest and we're just making sure that everything is on the table, you were not a playoff team this year. So there was no reason to go spend an egregious amount of money in NIL funds for a one-year rental that is not going to be really the answer for a problem that is still existing on the Plains. We can agree with that. But just because you don't have the answer in the portal does not mean that the answer that currently is trotting out with the first team offense is the right one. That's the bottom line. And there are going to be people out there that will say, but it's only been 2 games, 4 interceptions, 4 miscommunicated calls, really young wide receiver core. And I say I understand it's been 2 games. For 2024, you're lying to yourself. You're trying to sell yourself that Payton Thorne can be fixed. Because it's not 2 games. It's a full season last year. It's a full year in 2022 at the University of Michigan, at Michigan State University. It's a full year of 2021 that was a breakout. That's it. That's what you got. You got 5 years of starting experience from a kid who has not shown you that he can improve. One great defining year out in East Lansing does not mean that he's going to travel on down to SEC country and immediately catch fire the same way they did for Mel Tucker. Also, when you think about that team, they had better weapons. They had more consistent playmakers. They had a Doak Walker award-winning running back to take a ton of pressure off of him and a very underrated offensive line. In a sense, what you saw from this team this offseason was exactly what you saw when Mel Tucker was trying to build around Payton Thorne in 2021. They went out and they brought in guys to alleviate the pressure off him being the starting quarterback. But so far, 4 interceptions in a game against an opponent that probably was better prepared than we expected is the all-tell sign that this is as good as it gets. It is. People don't want to hear it because of it's such negativity. And negativity might sell in society, but you don't want to hear it when you're a fan of a team that you believe can do something. And you want to know what I believe? That this is still an Auburn roster that without question can play the spoiler role. You're not going to the playoff. You never were going to the playoffs. So throw that idea in the trash can and start pointing towards 2025. But you are a team that can spoil an upset. You are a team that can be the reason why one opponent is not going to the playoff. It could be Mizzou. It could be Georgia. It could be Oklahoma. It could be Texas A&M. It could be Alabama and Kalen DeBoer's first Iron Bowl. You have a talented enough roster to do that. Play up to that level, the spoiler role. And ultimately, wouldn't that make you feel good? You hired the right coach. You got a young core in place. You feel like that you're treading upward after an underwhelming 2023 campaign. Isn't that what you want to see? But instead, all you're doing is you're watching as your head coach continues to gripe you and the rest of the roster thinking that he knows more. That's the problem here. And people don't want to go out of their way to say, Payton Thorne, because they like the fact that they have a relationship. I don't have a relationship with Hugh Freeze, so I can be the one to say this. It's not going to work. It's not. Just because you're in a toxic relationship for the kids doesn't mean the kids are benefiting. That's the beauty of it. You see people all the time miserable in their lives because they're trying to make it work for the kids. When honestly, for the kids' sake, for the family's sake, for everyone's sake, the best thing to do is part ways and find an even avenue to work together into building it up. Build your kids up. There are more healthy kids that grow up in society with divorced families than those that stay in toxic relationships. Don't believe me? Trust me, there's millions out there. And there's millions of people that watch as their families are destroyed from the inside because they stuck it out for the kids. Well, mom and pop are Payton Thorne and Hugh Freeze, and the best thing for the kids, the rest of the Auburn program, is to part ways. In the sense of where he is on the bench, learning how to be a great teacher for Hank Brown, for Holden Griner, for whoever it is, and Hugh Freeze doing what's best for the rest of the team. You realize that the rest of the team is hurting. And the biggest thing of all is recruits are paying attention to this. The thing that nobody wants to understand is that Auburn can be a program that is easily right alongside Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, LSU when it comes to recruiting because if they have the resources, they have the funds. Oh, and also, just make this clear, last year you watched as players that were looking at the Crimson Tide, that were looking at Texas A&M, that were looking at LSU, that were looking at Tennessee, that were looking at Georgia, all say, I want to go play for War Eagle. I want to go play for the Jordan Hare fan base. I want to go play in that stadium, in that atmosphere. And what you're doing is if you're Hugh Freeze, you're now telling them, well, you can come here, but I'm going to do what's best for my program. You are just a part of my program. I don't care what your opinion is. Every single time that Payton Thorne is trotted out there, the offense has to have just a kind of griping feeling down below that they know it's not going to work. They know that it's not going to work. Let me just go ahead and bring this back up one more time. 21-14 was the final score in a 4-turnover game from Payton Thorne and another 2 turnovers in that matchup. 6 total turnovers and you lose by 7 points. But 4 come from your starting quarterback. If that's not the ultimate sign of this is what you're going to get when you play Arkansas, when you play Missouri, when you play Kentucky, I don't know what is. You can still win football games. You have a young core of players that is only going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to blossom. There is talent galore out on the plains, and it's only going to get better in time. But recruits are not idiots. We are not idiots as fans of college football. We know what is the best thing for our teams, and the best thing for Auburn is to bench Payton Thorne because it's not doing any favors for anyone. Fans are frustrated. The media is frustrated. That locker room is frustrated. Payton Thorne is getting threats for Venmo accounts. Do you not understand that at the end of the day, the only person left to blame is Hugh? Not you, Hugh. And I can say this because if I know that it doesn't matter if I'm going to be in a highlight video next week or not. I'm saying this because if I know it's right. I know that this is the best thing for Auburn. Auburn can still be a 9-win team. Auburn can still impress because they have a young core of players that is only going to get better as they adapt to playing on the plains. Auburn can still be a team that finds a way to get a few upsets and really make life hell for opponents that believe that they are postseason bound. They can be that. They can't be that with Payton Thorne. If you would have asked me today, would Auburn beat Arkansas next week at home if Hank Brown started? I'd say it'd be close. I'd say I certainly would have my doubts that maybe this would go down to the wire, but ultimately, you feel good about where your young receiving core is. You have the most veteran running back in college football, or at least in the SEC, that can easily boot, scoot, and boogie like Brickson done into the end zone and hear a giant War Eagle chant that gets you the dub. Yeah, I would say that. If you ask me if Payton Thorne runs out there, I think that you lose by 7, if not more. You ask me if you go on the road and you play against Mizzou, could you win that game? With Hank Brown, maybe. With Payton Thorne, no. You ask me about every other game. Yeah, he's going to get you involved. There's going to be the matchup against Georgia. There's going to be the Iron Bowl where absolutely it is down to the wire and you're watching Carson Beck and Jalen Milroe have to make the highlight play once again like they did last year, and it's going to be a showcase. But they're not going to win. And they're not going to win because of who's the guy under center. I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news. I don't want to crap on Payton Thorne. I don't want to be the guy to be known as the villain on the Plains. I want to see Auburn back in football. And this is me as a Bama fan and as a Bama grad telling you this. Auburn being good at football is good for college football. Auburn being a peak program in the sport is great for the entire sport. So I'm not here telling you that Auburn being bad is a bad thing. I'm here telling you that Auburn being great can happen. It may not happen in 2024. It can in 2025. It certainly can in 2025. But it won't happen this year, and the foundation won't be laid if you continue to use the bad lumber. The lumber that you know is wilted, it's rotting, and it probably just needs to be sent to the wood chipper. The wood chipper in this sense is the bench. I wish Payton Thorne nothing but the best in life. I wish Payton Thorne nothing but the best in his career, whatever it may be. But I also want to see Auburn be good at football, and those two can't exist anymore. Toxic families that stay together end up doing more damage than good. Don't be the toxic family, Auburn. Find a way to make sure this is fixed before it's too late. Make sure you comment down below what are your overall thoughts on Payton Thorne being the starting quarterback. Make sure that also you're following us on social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at SEC Unfiltered. Follow me on Twitter at Mr. Cole Thompson. Follow us on social media. Make sure that also you download the podcast version of the show. And to check out all of our great work, make sure that you visit secunfiltered.com. I'm Cole Thompson. Later, War Eagle.